Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sports Moose Media Podcast. Ricky Dean along with Rick Burkett. And Rick joins me from his location over in Mobile, Alabama, as Rick spent a couple of days traveling this weekend and finally made it back home. So we're going to get the podcast out tonight and get it out to you. And, of course, we've had an exciting year of high school football. The regular season is wrapped up, and we're getting into the playoffs now. And so this is going to be exciting because it's basically you gotta play to stay. So you got to win in order to advance. You advance and then go to the next round. And so it's exciting, and we're looking forward to it. Of course, Rick and I'll give Rick a chance to chime in here in just a minute. Rick and I had an incredible game the other night, the Battle of Murder Creek. And, boy, was it a big one between the WS Neal Blue Eagles and the TR Miller Tigers. The Neal Blue Eagles come out a little short in the ball game, and you know, Neal played good. They were a man short as Jalen Likely, the starting running back, was not allowed to participate in the game, but Likely will be back this week for the playoffs. It was a good ball game, Rick, all the way around. You know, Miller played really good, and Miller deserved to win the ball game, but this young Neal team, you know, they got on the scoreboard first, and they stayed and battled, just came up a little bit short in the ball game.
Well, yeah, and it was an honor to be there. It was, as we said on the broadcast, my first experience with the Battle of Murder Creek, and you know, I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, I remember some of our old rival games when we played and back at Atmore, and I've never seen anything like that. Both teams, of course, they know each other. It's all in the same town. They were very nice and cordial. Miller showed great sportsmanship. The score was 15-8 at halftime. I mean, it was a close game for most of the game. And really, right before the end of the first half, you know, Neal made the long bomb. It was called back on what was a holding. Went back, looked, it was a hold. So the play got called back. They would have been right on the doorstep and almost able to tie the game. But I was just glad to be there. Glad to be back home from my travels. Like you said, good Lord protected us while we were traveling. I had to go take care of some business up north. we never got farther north than Tennessee, but north for us. So got to come back and had a good time. So we're just glad to be home. Appreciate you calling me up and being part of the podcast.
Yeah, glad to get you on, and glad y'all made it home safe and everything, and glad you were able to conduct your business and get that out of the way. But now, you know, we're back into the business of high school football, and so that's what we're here to talk about tonight. And we're going to talk about beginning in. We will begin in 7A Region 1. A lot of all these schools will be Mobile and Baldwin County schools that we talk about. Most of the schools we talk about are either from Mobile, Baldwin, Washington, Clark, Escambia, Monroe, even down into Escambia County, Florida. We're going to make mention of the Northview Chiefs tonight because they've got a big playoff game coming up this week too. So we're getting into the playoffs, and we're going to talk about first-round playoff games as well as touch on what happened in some big games last week. So let's look at 7A Region 1. Of course, 7A Region 1 was led by the region champion, Mary Montgomery, the number 3 team in the state of Alabama in the Class 7A, according to the Alabama Sports Writers Association. The Vikings did not play this past week. They had already finished their season up. They finished the year 10-0, 6-0 in the region. They will take on Dothan High School at home. So Dothan High comes into town. The Wolves of Dothan High School are 8-2 on the year, 6-2 in their region, and they are number 4 in the state of Alabama. So you've got, right off the bat, you've got the number 3 team in the state against the number 4 team in the state. That ought to be a good ball game.
Yeah, and you know, in the 7A, there's only, you know, like 25 or 26 7A teams total in the whole state. So when you make the playoffs in 7A, it doesn't matter even if you had a great season like Mary Montgomery did, your first round there. It's not like in some of the lower classifications where they match a 1 team versus an 8 team in a bracket and all that. And that 8 team might even have, a 3-7 or a 4-6 record. In the 7A, they're matched up against Dothan. Of course, Dothan's got a very good football team. At one time, I think, at one point in the season, Dothan was ranked number 1 in the state in 7A. So, as good as a season as Mary Montgomery's had, that's a tough one right there, Dothan High. So, but we'll be pulling for them. They've beaten everybody they played, and I know I'll be rooting for them. They're just up the road there, and my own cousins went to school there at Mary G. Montgomery. So good luck to them.
In another game that is in Class 7A Region 1, you've got the Baker Hornets, the number 8 team in the state of Alabama. They defeated Mountain Brook this past week, 37-28. They will take on number 5, another game between a couple of ranked teams. They're going to take on number 5 Auburn High at home, as Auburn, the Tigers, will make the trip down. They are 8-2, 6-2 on the year, so that's going to be another big Class 7A Region 1 game. Looking down below them, you've got the Daphne Trojans are going to be on the road this week. They're 6-4, 4-2 in the region. They defeated Hillcrest Evergreen this past week, a Class 3A team, 50-18. They will be traveling to take on number 7 Enterprise. Enterprise is 8-2, 6-2 in their region. So the Wildcats are also a very good football team. And to wrap up the play in Class 7A Region 1, the Davidson Warriors, they lost to Jackson, to Class 4A Jackson, 45-14. Davidson ended the year 5-5, 3-3 in the region. They're going to travel to play a very good football team, the number 1 ranked 7A team in the state. They will be at Central Phoenix City, who is 9-0, 8-0 in the region, so they've got to go right off the bat and take on the number 1 team in the state, the Red Devils of Central Phoenix City.
Yeah, and I mean, but you know what? Davidson, it's a good season for them no matter what. They started out really rough to begin the year and closed out well enough to make the playoffs. And of course, that's a tough draw right there to have to go to Phoenix City and play the Red Devils, because they've destroyed everybody they played. So, but good luck to them. Good luck to the Warriors.
Let's move down to 6A Region 1 as we take a look. We've often jokingly said the University of Saraland, the Saraland Spartans, will be at home. They're the number 1 ranked Class 6A team in the state. They finished their season at 10-0, 8-0 on the region. They defeated McGill-Toolen this past week. They put up a bunch of points against McGill-Toolen, beat them 70-27, and the poor Yellow Jackets of McAdory have to make their way down I-65 from up north. They will come down. They're 6-4 and 4-3, but they've got a tough one right off the bat. McAdory taking on Saraland to begin the Class 6A Region 1 games. The number 10 ranked Spanish Fort Toros, they did not play this week. They had already finished their season at 8-2 on the year, 7-1 in the region. They will play at home. They will take on the Bessemer City Purple Tigers, and the Purple Tigers are 5-5 on the year, 4-3 in their region. Then you've got the Theodore Bobcats at 7-3. They're 6-2 in the region. They defeated St. Paul's this week by a score of 20-10. They will be on the road. They will travel to Hueytown and take on the Hueytown Golden Gophers, who are 7-3, 6-1 in their region. And then, of course, the St. Paul Saints of Mobile. They're 7-3, 5-3 in the region. They lost to Theodore this past week by a score of 20-10, and they will travel to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, to take on the number 3 ranked Hillcrest Tuscaloosa Patriots. The Patriots are 10-0 and 7-0, so that's your games, Rick, in Class 6A.
Good luck to all the Mobile area teams. That's a tough one for St. Paul. That Hillcrest Tuscaloosa team, the only team I think might be better than them in the 6A would be Saraland. Nobody's even given Saraland much of a game this year. I've never seen a team just beat everybody like they have this year, except maybe Mobile Christian down in the 3A thing. But I mean, there's a lot of people think Saraland may be just the best team in the state, period, regardless of classification.
Well, there's certainly some good teams in the Mobile, Baldwin County area, in this area of the country, and the southern portion of the state is going to be well represented going through the playoffs. You know, that's one thing that always kind of plays out in the playoffs is you've got the southern portion of the state, and then you got everybody north of Montgomery, and there's just a battle to see who the best of the best is down here in our area of the country, and then you look up north to see who's the best up there, and usually those teams meet each other in either Tuscaloosa or Auburn. Of course, it'll be Tuscaloosa this year when everybody vies for state championships. As we move down to Class 5A, Class 5A Region 1, let's look at the games coming up for all these guys. The number one ranked team in Class 5A in the state of Alabama, according to the Alabama Sports Writers Association, the Gulf Shores Dolphins finished their season at 10-0. They were 8-0 in the region. They defeated BC Rain by a score of 43-21. They will play Beauregard at home. The Beauregard Hornets at 6-4 and 2-3. Then the Faith Academy Rams, they ended up second in the region in Class 5A Region 1. Faith Academy will be at home. They will host the Elmore County Panthers. Of course, Faith Academy defeated LaFleur this past Friday night, 21-6. And Elmore County, the Panthers will come to town. They're 8-2 and 3-2, so that'll be your game between Elmore County and Faith. The BC Rain Red Raiders, who we got to see earlier in the year, they opened up a brand new stadium. They're playing good football this year. They lost to Gulf Shores this week. They finished their season at 7-3, 5-3 in the region. They lost to Gulf Shores, who is, of course, the number one ranked Class 5A team in the state. They will travel and take on the Valley Rams. The Valley Rams are 8-2 on the year and 4-1 in their region. And then you've got, and this is a surprise, I mean, they made it in, but it's just where they finished, because this is as low a finish as I believe they've had in a bunch of years. But the UMS Wright Bulldogs made the playoffs. They're at 6-4, 5-3 in the region. They defeated Williamson by only 1 point, 20-19. They will travel to number 3, Central Clay County, who is 10-0 and 5-0. The number 3 ranked Class 5A team in the state, Central Clay County, will host UMS Wright Bulldogs this week. Terry Curtis and his bunch got to make their way up there. But some really good first-round games in Class 5A, and a lot of them involve this Region 1 bunch of teams.
Yeah, and even though UMS Wright probably, in appearance, looks like they, have the bottom seed from this area in that 5A bunch, every game they lost was a close loss. So they may be 6-4, but I think they have a good chance to beat Central up in Clay County. And Faith Academy, they started off a little rocky at the beginning of the year, but then they wound up upsetting Viger, beating UMS Wright, and beating some good teams. So Faith's got a good shot. In fact, I like all of the chances of all of our teams from the Mobile area and South Alabama area for this Class 5A bracket. So it'd be nice to see them run the table.
Let's move down now to Class 4A. Class 4A Region 1, of course, number 3 in the state, according to the Alabama Sports Writers Association, the Jackson Aggies at 9-0, 7-0 in the region. They defeated Davidson this past week, 45-14. They will be at home against Claiborne County. The Tigers come to town with a 4-6 record and 2-4 in their region. The number 2 ranked team in Class 4A Region 1 will be the T.R. Miller Tigers. Matter of fact, we just saw them the other night. T.R. Miller, a very good team at 7-3, 5-2. They defeated the Neal Blue Eagles, as we said, by a score of 36-8. They will be at home as they host the Anniston Bulldogs at 6-3, 4-2 on the year. Then in the third spot in Class 4A Region 1, you've got Bayside Academy, the Admirals. They had a good year. They finished 8-2 on the year, 5-2 in the region. They defeated Alabama Christian this past week, 35-7. The Bayside Academy Admirals, they have to travel to Jacksonville, Alabama. That's up there close to where we'll be at.
Yeah,
they travel to Jacksonville to take on the Jacksonville Golden Eagles at 8-2 and 5-1 in the region. And then the St. Michael Cardinals, they did not play this past week, but they will be up there close to us as well as they travel to play the number 6 ranked team in Class 4A, the Handley Tigers, at 9-1 and 6-0 in the region. So all those are very good games to kick off the Alabama High School Athletic Association playoffs in Class 4A. Those will be some good ones.
Yeah, those ought to be some really good ones there. I like T.R. Miller and I like Jackson for the W's in that bracket.
Let's continue as we work our way through the Alabama High School Athletic Association first round games for especially the Region 1 groups of all the classifications, as we now move into the class and region that we are most familiar with. Of course, the Neil Blue Eagles were a part of the Class 3A Region 1, and of course we've been talking about this bunch all year because we saw them right off the bat to start region play with the Neil Blue Eagles. The Mobile Christian Warriors, Mobile Christian at number 1 in the state. They are 10-0, 7-0 in the region. They will be at home this week in Mobile, out there on Cottage Hill against the Beulah Bobcats. The Beulah Bobcats are 4-6 and 3-3. Then you've got the number 2 team in Class Class 3A Region 1, the number 9 Thomasville Tigers. They're a very good football team as well. Thomasville finished the year at 8-1, 6-1 in the region. Their only loss came to Mobile Christian. So they defeated Clark County 34-0. Clark County's also a playoff team in Class 2A, a very good football team, and Thomasville just manhandled them at 34-0. Thomasville will be at home in that beautiful facility they have over there in Thomasville, Alabama. They will take on the Dadeville Tigers, who finished the year 4-4 and 4-2 in the region. Now, our game will be the Neil Blue Eagles as they travel northbound. They will travel to Randolph County. Of course, W.S. Neal lost, as we earlier mentioned, to T.R. Miller 36-8 this past Friday night. A very good game, the Battle of Murder Creek. They will travel and take on Randolph County. Randolph County finished the season at 9-1 and 5-1. Of course, the Randolph County Tigers, that's where Rick and I will be on WBZR 105.9 FM in Atmore. We'll have that game. And then the Flomaton Hurricanes, they'll just be a rock's throw from us as they travel. They defeated Marengo this past week. They got all over Marengo 63-0. Flomaton finished the year 6-4, 4-3 in the region. They will play Walter Welborn, who is a very good football team. Walter Welborn, the Panthers, are 7-3 and 6-0 in their region. They were the region champion up there in their neck of the woods, and so all those teams are going to be in the playoffs, and we look forward to coverage on those, and especially excited about our chance to go and cover the Neil Blue Eagles and the Randolph County Tigers.
Yeah, that's right, Ricky. I'm really looking forward to it. Congratulations, Flomaton, too, and Mobile Christian. I saw some writers, on Alabama.com were talking about, Jimmy Wakefield, too. He was talking for the Call News, talking about Mobile Christian, how they don't win it this year. They've really missed their chance. But I like them and Neil for the W's, and of course Flomaton's got a lot of momentum headed into that Walter Welborn game. So good luck to them all.
I guarantee you, when you play the Flomaton Hurricanes, you better be able to stop the run because you're going to get a steady dose of it. They're a very good football team.
That's right.
Going to Class 2A Region 1 now, the Clark County Bulldogs. The Clark County, man, if you look at their record, you go, well, they're just a 500 team. Well, they are on their complete season. They finished the year 5-5, but the trick to the matter is winning all your region games. They were 5-5 on the year, 5-0 in the region. They did lose to Thomasville this past week, 34-0, but they ended up winning Class 2A Region 1. They will play at home this week against the Vincent Yellow Jackets at 6-4 and 4-3. Then the second place team in Class 2A Region 1, the St. Luke's Wildcats. That's right over there close to you. At 6-4, 4-1. They lost. Hey, now, this is something worth mentioning right here. Cottage Hill Christian, a Class 3A team, and of course we saw Cottage Hill a couple of times during the year. Cottage Hill got their first win of the season the other night against the Wildcats of St. Luke's. Cottage Hill picked up the win 25-13. Of course, Cottage Hill did not make the playoffs, but St. Luke's did. St. Luke's is actually the number 2 team in Class 2A Region 1, and they will play Isabella. The Isabella Mustangs are coming to play St. Luke's at home. Isabella is 8-2 and 5-2 in their respective reason. You know, that's a pretty good team to be playing in the first round, an 8-2 and 5-2 in the region team, and you yourself, you were the 2 seed, they were the 3 in their region, and you only won 6 games and they won 8, so there's a little difference there. That'll be interesting to pay attention to and see who comes out on top in that one. Of course, another very good team that we followed some this year in Class 2A Region 1, the Chickasaw Chieftains at 5-5. They were 3-2 in the region. They lost to Satsuma the other night by a score of 47-32. They will be on the road and go to Thorsby to take on the Thorsby Rebels. The Thorsby Rebels are 8-2 and 6-1 in their respective region. And then the Washington County Bulldogs, who made it to the playoffs this year, they were 4-6, 2-3 in the region. They got manhandled the other night by Leroy, but everybody else did too. So they lost to Leroy 49-14. They will play the number 1 team in Class 2A in the state. They've got to go on the road and play B.B. Comer's Tigers. B.B. Comer is 10-0 and 7-0.
Yeah, I mean, that's an off year for them. So, but good luck to them, and hope to see them do well.
Move down now as we wrap up Class 1A, as we wrap up the games that we're following this week in the Alabama High School Athletic Association. Of course, the Leroy Bears, they're number 1 in the state according to the Alabama Sports Writers Association. They're 9-0, 6-0 in the region. They defeated Washington County, as we mentioned, 49-14. They will be at home and host Calhoun. Calhoun's Tigers will come to town at 3-7 and 3-4, so that game will be right there in Leroy, right there on Highway 43. I know where you're at. Been there before. We've taken a couple of tail whoopings over there ourselves when my son was playing at J.U. Blackshear, so we're well familiar with what Leroy is all about. And then the number 2 team in the region, the Milry Wildcats, they're number 7 in the state. They did not play this past week. They finished the year 8-2, 5-1 in the region. They will be at home as well on Wildcat Hill in Milry as they take on the Notasulga Blue Devils at 5-4 and 5-2. Then you drop down, the number 3 team in Class 1A Region 1 is Choctaw County. They finished the year 5-3, 4-2 in the region. They defeated University Charter School by a score of 24-16. They've got a bad trip to make. I don't wish this on anybody, but they've got to go to a tradition-rich school and play Maplesville in Maplesville. The Red Devils really kind of had an off year, though. They were 6-4 on the year, 6-1 in the region. But the thing is just like a lot of these other schools, the 4 losses that they have, they lost 1 in the region, and then the other 3 losses were somebody that was out of their classification. They weren't 1A schools that beat them, I promise you that. And then you've got South Choctaw is the number 4 team in the region in Class 1A Region 1. They were 4-6 on the year, 3-3 in the region. They lost to Excel by a score of 42-6. They have to travel. They will go play the number 4 ranked team, according to the Alabama Sports Writers Association, they will be at Lochapoka and play the Indians. The Indians of Lochapoka are 9-0 on the year and 7-0, so they've got a tough one right off the bat. Does South Choctaw? But Rick, there you go. That's the lineup for the first round games for 1A Region 1.
Yeah, I mean, that Southern Choctaw, good on them for making the playoffs, but that's a tough one there to have to go play Lochapoka. They've got a really good team up there, so but good luck to them anyhow.
Yeah, so that's all our teams from the Alabama High School Athletic Association, Class 7A through 1A, all of them in Region 1. Like I say, all the games that we covered right there for you are Mobile, Baldwin, Washington, Clark, Monroe, Escambia. You know, we covered those counties in the state of Alabama. So now let's jump into the second round, because it is going to be second round games this week of the Alabama Independent School Association, the ISA. Or the AISA, I should say, as they get set. Of course, looking at the Class 3A playoff bracket for the AISA schools, Glenwood School got a first round bye. They're ranked number 2 in the state. The Glenwood Gators at 9-1, 7-0. Autauga Academy picked up a big win over Bessemer Academy this past weekend to start round 1. Autauga defeated Bessemer by a score of 29-20. So now Autauga advances. They will play Glenwood. Autauga is ranked number 9 in the AISA. The Autauga Academy Generals, they finished their year at 8-3, 4-3 in their region. Now, earlier in the year, Glenwood had played Autauga. Glenwood beat Autauga earlier in the year in week 8 of the season by a score of 42-7, and Glenwood is a load, so that will probably be a very tough game for Autauga to pick up a win there. Then you drop down to the next game. Of course, there's only 4 teams left, because the next round will be the state championships game held at Crampton Bowl in Montgomery. You've got the number 3 ranked team in AISA, the Lee Scott Academy Warriors, at 9-1 and 6-1. They will play the Fort Dale Academy Eagles at 9-2 and 5-2. Of course, Lee Scott got a first round bye, so they advanced courtesy of the bye. Fort Dale Academy got all over Monroe Academy in the first round. It was Fort Dale 49, Monroe Academy 7, so Monroe Academy right here close to me in Monroe County got eliminated. But you've got Lee Scott and Fort Dale. As we said earlier in the year, during week 9, Lee Scott and Fort Dale did tie up, and Lee Scott had earlier beat Fort Dale by a score of 42-10, so they get a rematch, but it may not be a rematch that Fort Dale really wants very much in that second round game.
Yeah, I think it could be, but I think Lee Scott and Glenwood probably both pick up W's in that. But you know, the Lee Scott Fort Dale game is a little more intrigue than the Glenwood versus Autauga. I think Glenwood's they're going to roll right on to the state championship.
So as we continue looking at the Alabama Independent School Association, that wraps things up for 3A. Let's look at the Class 2A bracket. In Chambers Academy took on Escambia Academy in round 1. The Cougars are now out of the playoffs. They got beat up at Lafayette the other night. Chambers Academy got on them 55-18, but a good year for the Cougars as they made the playoffs, but they're now out. So Chambers, number 2 in the state, Chambers, they advance to take on Patrician Academy. Patrician Academy got all over Hooper Academy in the first round. They beat Hooper 52-13, so a lot of offense there, but it'll be Chambers Academy staying at home, and they will host Patrician. Chambers is number 2 in AISA. Patrician is number 6, but I believe this Chambers Academy bunch, they'll probably just really manhandle Patrician. I don't know whether Patrician's going to have the horses to be able to stay with Chambers.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, you and I, we've been up there to Lafayette and watched them. I mean, it's like going to a large public school game when you go to school there to their stadium up there in Lafayette. And I think they draw more people to their school there than the public school there. And they're very nice. You know, they have the whole rodeo like thing going on, but they've got a really good football team. You know, just giving them the eyeball test, I'd say Chambers Academy could probably play with most of the 3A and 4A public schools in the state. That's how good they are this year. So it's going to be pretty tough for Patricia headed up there.
The other game in Class 2A for the AISA, Banks Academy in the first round, they defeated Macon East by a score of 40-0. So number 5 Banks Academy, they advance. Edgewood Academy lost to Clark Prep. So good job there by the Clark Prep Gators, as they were actually kind of considered the underdog in that ball game, but they come out with a 21-14 win over Edgewood. So that'll pit Banks Academy will stay at home. They will play Clark Prep, the Gators. So it'll be the Jets versus the Gators. Banks Academy is a really good football team. They're 10-1 on the year. Clark Prep finished their season at 8, they're not through yet, but they've got an 8-4 record so far, and so that'll be a really good game between Banks Academy and Clark Prep. It'll be at Banks Academy. Just wonder whether Clark Prep's going to have the horses to stay in that race or not, but that'll be a really good game, is because it looks like just from looking at scores that Clark Prep has had in games all year long, Clark Prep is really good on the defensive side of the ball, but it looks like Banks Academy is able to light up the scoreboard on offense. So that'll be an offensive team against a defensive team, unless we'll just have to play that one out and see who comes out on top.
Yeah, I think Clark Prep's got a puncher's chance in that. I mean, nobody expected them to beat Edgewood, but they did. So I think they got a shot at Banks Academy. We'll see.
Moving down to AISA Class A, the playoff bracket, of course, Lowndes Academy beat Sparta Academy. Sparta made the playoffs for the first time in a while, but they took an early exit. Lowndes Academy got all over them 47-0. And Lowndes Academy is the number 1 ranked AISA team right now, according to the Alabama Sports Writers Association. I got to kind of question that just a little bit, because Lowndes Academy being a 1A team, and then you've got a team like Glenwood that they've got listed as number 2. That's a little far-fetched in my book, but we're just calling out the numbers because that's what the Alabama Sports Writers Association says. But the Lowndes Academy Rebels, they will host. Now this is going to be a good game, because this is the defending state champion, number 8 Jackson Academy Eagles, going to Lowndes Academy. Lowndes Academy is 11-0, 4-0 in the region. Jackson Academy 9-2 on the year, 3-1 in the region. That's going to be a good football game, and it's number 1 against number 8. Then you jump down and look at the other Class 1A game is number 10 Wilcox Academy, the Wildcats. Wilcox from Camden, they're going to be at home. They're 9-3 on the year, 4-0 on the region, and then they will play the Southern Academy Cougars at 7-4 and 2-2. Earlier in the year, now this is interesting, earlier in the year, Southern played Wilcox at Wilcox, and they beat them by 1 point, 30-29. So this is going to be a rematch. Now you better know that Wilcox has probably watched that 1 point loss film quite a bit over the past week. They're looking to avenge that loss from earlier in the year to Southern Academy.
Yeah, and I'm proud of Wilcox Academy. I mean, they sometimes take it on the chin up there, but they've had a really good year, and I think you're right. I think they'll get that revenge personally. So good luck to them.
Well, I've been up to Wilcox in Camden quite a bit. It's a beautiful ride up there if you ever get a chance to go. And I've said this earlier in the year on one of our podcasts, is that that's just a nice group of folks up there. And I've been up there to broadcast, and I've also been up there as an official, as a baseball official. And man, I've rarely do I ever get treated any better than what I've been treated at Wilcox Academy. Those folks in Camden, they're just really good folks, and it's a lot of fun to go up there and either cover ball games on the radio or cover ball games to umpire. Because I know if you ask those people from Wilcox, it was all the opposition's people that were yelling at you. It really wasn't us.
Yeah, they're good salt of the earth Christian folks, and good luck to them this Friday night.
Now, something we are going to mention is we've got this is the second round of also the 8-man playoff bracket, the 8-man football bracket for the AISA. Cornerstone Christian will take on the Chargers of North River Christian. Of course, Cornerstone Christian and North River Christian, they're both known as the Chargers. So that'll be one of the second round games. Cornerstone Christian is 9-1 on the year, 5-0 in the region, and North River is 5-5 on the year, 2-3 in the region. That'll be one of your 8-man games. And then the other one, the Springwood Wildcats at 8-2, 4-1 in the region. They will take on, and I like this team name, by the way. This is the Southern Prep Academy Fighting Rangers. Will be the opponent of Springwood's Wildcats. So that'll be a good game. The Fighting Rangers are 7-5 on the year, 3-2. So that's the second round games of your 2 8-man football groupings there, and the winners of those 2 games will advance and play for a state championship in 8-man football for the AISA.
Yep, I mean, we've talked about that. I'm looking forward to it. Maybe we'll get depending on what our schedule is, depending on how some of these playoff games play out. Maybe we'll get to call some of those.
Yeah, I would really love to just go watch an 8-man football game. I've never seen one, and I would just like to go see what it looks like. And evidently, there's a lot of offense in those, because you've got, I guess you play on the same size field and everything else, so you've only got 8 bodies on each side of the line of scrimmage, so you got to have more room to run and go.
It's usually like 3 linemen blocking, and then it's almost a little bit like 7-on-7, like they do in the spring sometimes and during the summer camps. And it's just a lot of speed. It's real fast, and I've seen them before. Like I said, out West Texas, they're kind of a fun thing to watch. But hopefully we'll get a chance to maybe go up there to the Crampton Bowl when they have the championship.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun to go watch. And now the last thing I want to mention before we kind of wrap this thing up tonight is the fact that from right down here close to me, matter of fact, I spend a lot of time in the community because I umpire a lot of youth baseball over there at Northwest Escambia, the Northview Chiefs. And we followed the Chiefs last year during their big a run to a state championship ball game. They fell short last year, and there was some doubt about whether the Northview Chiefs would make the playoffs this year. Of course, they lost a ton. They lost like 11 really good seniors. They had some studs last year on that football team, but happy to say that the Northview Chiefs did make the playoffs in Northwest Florida. They will be playing for a Class 1A Florida Rural championship, and they will take on the Jay Royals this Friday night at 7:30 p.m. This game will be taking place in Jay, so it'll be the Northview Chiefs at the Jay Royals Friday night, November the 10th at 7:30 p.m. The winner will take on Bozeman, who has a round 1 bye. But I want to tell you something now. We made mention of some of these earlier in the year. On October the 13th, Northview played Jay and beat them 41-19. So if Northview can continue, and can remember what they did in the first ball game against the Jay Royals, could be that Northview would advance to a second round game and take on Bozeman. Bozeman seems to be a really good team, but they got a bye, and so we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. But that's going to be in the Florida High School Athletic Association Class 1A Rural division, the Northview Chiefs and the Jay Royals Friday night at 7:30, that game in Jay. So good luck to the Northview Chiefs.
Yeah, that's right. Good luck to them. They had a little bit of an off year after losing. I forget how many, 11 or 12 seniors from that great team last year went to the state championship, and congratulations to Jay too. They went 6-4 this year after having a rough year last year. So we got friends in both communities. So good luck to both of them, but mostly to the Chiefs, who we knew lots of people over there.
Yep. So that's going to about wrap things up as far as the matchups for this week go and everything. And of course, we'll do the podcast again next week, and we'll bring you back up to date with how all these games that we talked about tonight turned out. And of course, we just want you to listen and like the Sports Moose Media podcast. Do want to say, though, make one more mention that Rick and I are excited. We're going to leave Friday and be traveling up to Wedowee, Alabama, and we will be covering the Randolph County Tigers and the W.S. Neal Blue Eagles, as those two teams tie up in round one of the Class 3A state championship games here in the state of Alabama. And of course, don't know yet how those will play out or whatever. Got to play the games first, but it's winner. It's win and advance. You know, it's not winner take all. Really, well, I guess it is. It's kind of like the old wrestling thing, Rick. Winner take all, loser leave town, and so you know, in order to beat the man, you got to beat the man. Ain't that what they say?
That's right.
So
yeah, it's like Thunderdome, 2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
That's right. So that's what we're going up to face. And you know, I've watched a little film on this Randolph County bunch. They really look good on film. They got some good-looking athletes. They got a big old tall quarterback, and they've got a sophomore running back that's really good. Got a big old. They run a lot out of the I formation, so it's kind of an old-school look when they line up and go. Don't throw the ball very much, but they don't have to because they get behind that big old wide behinds of those offensive linemen. They got some big guys up front. Don't think they're quite as big as Mobile Christian, but they're right there with them. I guarantee you that. So it's going to be a good game to see if the speed of W.S. Neal can kind of outflank the power of that straight-ahead running game that Randolph County is going to present. So it's going to be a lot of fun for us. We'll be on the air at 6:30 p.m. from Wedowee, Alabama. We will be on the radio at 105.9 FM in Atmore. Possibility that we could be live and on YouTube. Now, there is a thing. I don't know that the broadcast is actually on YouTube is going to actually be able to be live, but it could be a 12-hour tape delay. But the last I heard, to give you information on that they were looking at live streaming that game, so that game will eventually should be on YouTube in some way, form, or fashion. But, Rick, that's going to about do it for us tonight, buddy. It's been another good thing. Glad you guys got home safe from your travels. And, boy, I'm looking forward to getting on the road and covering a little playoff football coming up this Friday night.
Yeah, me too, Ricky, and appreciate everybody listening in, and God bless everybody.